into the room. You're free to just be you. Tell me your story, and we will go exploring. Let's explore together. Let's explore together.
Going into the industry, I had a lot of people that stopped talking to me.
Okay.
Thinking that would change things.
Sure.
I did have a very select few that knew what I was doing. I tried to keep it secret. I really did. I tried to keep it secret from my family as long as I could.
How long did that last, may I ask?
I was probably 6 months when I got a phone call from my uncle. And all he said was, "Do you know this person?" And I said, "Yes, very well," because at that point I'd been outed.
Who was this person? You?
Yeah. They had
How did he find out?
There's a couple of different stories as to how he found out. I was told, a coworker showed me this, recognized your niece, stuff like that. So at that point I had been outed. And then I had a girl I had gone to school with, who was like a sister to me, because you know how girls get. And she mailed a box cover to my father. Box cover is the outside of a DVD. I was the solo actress on the front of it. So that's part of how my parents found out.
Why?
My guess would be vengeance. I don't know.
So before she mailed that to your parents, did she talk to you about it? Did she come to you and say, "Hey, I have concerns with your lifestyle and what you're doing with your life"? So she just immediately went to your parents.
She hated my ex-husband that I was with, and we had stopped talking for quite a while.
But you and her were at some point friends.
Yeah, called her my foster sister, like very, very
I guess
close.
I'm just kind of confused because for me, a friend is somebody who's going to call you out. They're not going to go to somebody else and call you out if they think that you're doing something incorrect.
You would think so, yeah.
So that's unfortunate. I'm really sorry that happened. So did your dad call you? Or he just stopped talking to you?
They had already stopped talking to me for the most part. I think it's to go into the family support, the entire 8 years I was with my ex-husband, I probably saw my family for a combined of 6 or 7 hours. Because he hated them and they hated him. So we didn't stay at family events long. I didn't go over there. We didn't visit.
Can I ask, in that dynamic, who you think started hating who first?
Mutual.
Was it your mutual? Now, did your parents not like him because they felt that he took you away from them and introduced you to a life that they don't approve of, so to speak?
They didn't like him from the get-go because he had
even before?
Yeah, he had a position of authority in my life. And he was only 2.5, 3 years older than me, so it wasn't anything crazy, but it was one of those you don't cross.
So was he domineering then? Was he...
I didn't realize it.
Okay.
I was looking back now because I was 17 when I met him.
Okay. Fair, yeah.
I'm very, very naive and blind to the world. Thought I was head over heels in love with this man. And everything seemed to be my idea.
Sure.
The way it planned out. And then looking back now, I'm like, wow, why did I ever do any of that? Why did, you start questioning yourself. I'm like, oh.
So he was kind of a manipulator, if you will.
Yeah.
So it was one of his relatives that got you into the adult industry, correct? And I have to ask this since we're hitting on all the points. Obviously, he supported your career.
Yeah, he'd been involved in the industry before I met him.
So during the time that you were active in the industry, did he work? Did he support the household as well? How did that dynamic work?
No. For a long time, he told me that his job was to be my driver. Because like I said, I commuted. There was some days, if the money was right, if it's they called me and say, hey, we have this thing we want you to do on Wednesday, and it's Monday.
Yeah.
$1,500, I'm going to drive to LA
Yeah.
and drive back. So
Sure.
he would do that. He was trying different career paths, but nothing ever stood, like, nothing took off for him. So
Like-
no, I was
Like ever? Like throughout the whole time period he didn't
Yeah.
work? Okay.
on and off side jobs kind of stuff. Didn't keep
But
a job
pretty
for
rare.
terribly long.
Okay.
Had a good reason why he couldn't keep the job, this and that.
Do you believe that? Do you think that that was sincere he couldn't get a job, or do you think that
No.
he was just trying to
No, he wanted
milk
to
you
come
in
have
your
fun.
career?
I made a lot of money.
Yeah.
I made a lot of money fast.
Yeah.
Paid for our wedding cash kind of money. Thank God no wedding debt. I would say probably within the first 6 months of me being active in LA, and I have no idea how much money I made dancing because it was cash every night, but the first 6 months I probably made about 60 grand. So it was enough to where he didn't technically have to work because we didn't own anything.
Were you okay with that? Supporting him?
I would have enjoyed to be able to stay home, but at that point in time, everything was getting paid. I wasn't home to see what was going on back home. And there's a lot of stuff that I didn't know that I've found out as years went on. But where that came into play was when I was ready to transition out of the industry, because when I got married, I wanted to completely separate. And that wasn't financially possible. It took me a couple years to get out.
Was there any point, aside from that, but was there any point in your relationship that you thought about the fact that, or that it maybe bothered you, or you questioned the fact that this person that you love, boyfriend, fiance, now husband, is comfortable with paying the bills from his wife being intimate with somebody else? Did you ever think about that? Did it ever bother you? Did you embrace it? Did you think it was hot? I mean, how did you feel about that if you did ever think about it?
I never really thought of it because when we first got together, he informed me that it was an open relationship or no relationship. And I really wanted to be with him. And at 17, you don't know what an open relationship is. You think you talk a lot. You keep communication open. And
you've got open, and then you've got open. I mean,
so I didn't.
Be a lot of open.
I didn't understand what I was agreeing to.
Okay.
A wonderful uncle of mine clarified that, making a joke, and I was like, "Oh, wait, what? Crap! It's too late. I live with the guy now." So then, that was normal for me. There was lots of times where I tried to close the relationship, and it ended up ultimately ending our marriage. But those thoughts didn't dawn on me because I had been, lack of a better term, brainwashed into it's either this is how it is or it isn't. And because my family didn't talk to me, my friends didn't talk to me, I spent 2 years of my life wondering if I'm ever going to leave this guy. Would somebody love me because of what I did? Would somebody take it? How am I gonna get a job without a resume? All those thoughts crossed your mind.
And were those solely your thoughts, or did he plant those seeds throughout the relationship as far as nobody else is gonna want to be with you?
There was some of those mentioned here and there. What had happened was his sister-in-law actually ended up leaving his brother. And if you ever left me like she did, yada, 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 then those thoughts were started to be put in a couple years before I actually did leave.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. So, some mental abuse?
Yeah, because there was a long time where I didn't want to do what I was doing anymore. You go through, it's fun for so long now. Okay, I'm getting older. I want to have a family. I want to have kids.
Settle
I
down,
want to be at home. I don't want to travel and be gone more time than I am home. Those things start to hit you. And when you don't have somebody that's willing to step up and help you out, at least transition out, those hit hard.
Right. I imagine that would be pretty difficult.
Yeah.
So, you decided, I guess, to step back a little bit, right, from there, yes. And so you've starred in adult movies.
Correct.
Pretty sure we covered that.
Yeah.
And you started off exotic dancing, stripping, whatever you want to call it. You quickly moved into adult cinema.
Yep.
Is there any other aspects of the adult industry that you've been involved in, or facets of it that you've worked in?
Basically, when people ask me about that, I say there isn't a part of the industry that I hadn't done. Okay. Yes, I've done the escorting. I've worked in the houses and the brothels, off of websites when, you have to do what you have to do when you don't have a significant other that's willing to help, or you don't have a significant other to help. You just have to, there's different things that are set in place to kind of keep you safe so that you don't get arrested or you don't get hurt. So I've done within the industry, appointments, they call them, so with the directors and producers to make quick cash.
Okay.
We've done stuff like that. I've traveled out of the country to host some pageants and stuff like that.
What do you mean when you say pageants?
They do. So one of my favorite stories actually is I went up to Toronto up in Canada and I co-hosted the Miss Nude Canada pageant. So basically it's like the stripper Olympics.
What's that about?
Right? Exactly. And nobody ever said A and the whole time I was there, by the way. They do have really good donuts. So yeah,
Wait, you had donuts at the nude pageant itself? Or?
Well, no. You're not going to go to Canada.
Dream.
You're not going to go to Canada and not get donuts. I'm going to tell you that.
I had no idea.
Tim Hortons. Exactly. You've never heard of Tim Hortons? If you ever go to Canada, that's my suggestion.
No, I totally will.
Yeah.
And I will say A.
And it was beautiful, and it was a lot of fun. I just turned 19.
What was your role? Were you actually in the pageant?
No, I was a host.
You were a host.
Yeah.
What is a host?
Sat there and judged them and looked pretty and took pictures with fans.
What did you judge them on? Was it like areola or?
No, it was like skill set. They're pretty.
Wait.
They've already gone through
what are
out there. There was girls that did full-blown stage shows where they in this big empty champagne glass with bubbles.
Like a burlesque show, but
yeah,
naked?
but
okay.
they go complete naked. There was a girl
Little
I
Dita?
remember
Okay.
that was swinging from the rafters in the club. Oh man, it was.
I actually know one of those. Okay.
It was pretty crazy.
Those so they have like that talent aspect of the beauty pageant.
Yeah.
But they do it naked.
Yes.
Totally naked.
Yes.
Everything they do is naked.
It's like a regular.
Do they ask them the
dance.
Q&A like they do with
No.
other pageants?
No.
Oh, I would have liked to.
That would have been fun.
About me.
That would have been fun.
So let's back up just a tad. Okay, so you've worked in the you've been a stripper, adult movies, you've done nude pageant judging. Any place else that you've worked in the adult industry?
Yeah.
You said everything. You worked in a brothel.
I've worked in the brothels.
And you've done escorting.
I've done escorting.
And you've worked in a brothel. So if you could just take maybe just a moment and hit upon, because those are all, yes, they're all within the same umbrella, but they're all kind of different. Exactly.
It's more of little umbrellas.
So, I know. Settle down, Puffins. Is there ground rules to those different worlds, so to speak?
Again, I was very fortunate.
Okay.
I met a girl that is to this day is one of my best friends who is also successfully out of the industry and living a very happy life. She did establish rules, and I stayed with her when we were escorting. There's little things that they say, if they're not willing to give you a hug, if they try and pay you right away, if they won't get in the shower before anything. They're kind of warning signs to watch for so you don't get arrested. You do things like she would stay in the other room and we wouldn't tell them that somebody else was there so that there was always a second person there, or we always had somebody really close nearby. We always had a phone number that we would give them.
Yeah, so ground rules. So ground rules for them being undercover.
Yeah.
Was there any ground rules that you personally had for safety?
That would be where the giving
Somebody
the other
else
person there
would
and
be
having, because they would contact you either through email or a phone.
Right.
So that other person would always have the computer with them or the cell phone with them, so that they knew what was going on.
Right.
And I would always say, okay, my client's here. Okay, my client's in the shower. Client's left. Stuff, so that they always know what's going on.
It seems.
If it was like if you would go to a hotel, okay, this is the room number.
You're dealing
that I'm
with strangers,
be on.
and you're in a
But
vulnerable
you don't know,
position.
But I was really lucky that she had already kind of established a name, so she had set clientele already. So it was just we would either partner clientele or they would introduce us to people.
And again, the money was still
Money was
good.
was good enough to keep it going, but that was more of the, okay, I'm wanting to transition out.
Sure.
And I need quick cash, that kind of stuff.
You don't necessarily have to name names, but you can. Did you ever work with anybody well known?
Yeah, actually, I still don't look my age, so I stayed in the very young category for the entire career, really. I lived with a couple big stars, Tommy Gunn, Evan Stone. I don't know if they're big stars now, but when I was around, they were big stars. Sunny Lane was actually supposed to be in my wedding. She had an award show. Nikki Hunter was in my wedding. Mika Tan was supposed to be my maid of honor. So anybody that knows stuff like that, those are really, really well known and still fairly active in some aspects. If we want to go into real famous people, Sunny actually introduced me to Ron Jeremy.
Oh.
So I've known him fairly well. I mean, it's been years, obviously, so he meets so many people, I doubt he remembers me. But
Sure.
I have pictures with him sitting on the couch asleep with my dogs. We did commercials together. We did a lot of stuff. He's at the house a lot. Like I said, the guy that owned the house I rented from was really high in the industry, so we went to Vegas together. We did the convention. I was actually a trophy girl for the convention, so I got to meet. I walked Jenna Jameson off stage. Chuck Liddell and Tito Ortiz were down there. So you made a lot of random celebrities.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't want you to know that they're there, but you still meet them when you're out there. The convention has gotten a lot bigger. At the year that I did the trophy girl for it was the first year that they filmed it to put on TV. So that was pretty cool, watching that. And then the next year's convention, Nikki and I did hair and makeup for a lot of the girls down there, because they still shoot scenes and they still want to look nice when they're on the floor. So we did some signings, and I've probably been nominated 8 or 9 different times for either the newcomer of the year or for different movies that I've been in the scenes. Yeah,
wow.
A couple of them won. So it's
to win it. So kind of sounds like fun. Why not anymore?
There's only so long you can live your life as a second person before it starts to get draining.
Oh.
You have a lot of that, and like I said, when we started I got married because it felt like it was time to get married. So then you want a home life and different stuff like that. There was actually, like I was saying, you do some appointments with behind the scenes for directors and stuff. There was an incident. The guy that was helping me out set up a fake appointment, and I was actually assaulted. So
real quick, if I can just back up 2 seconds, because obviously want to hear about this. The guy that was helping you out, what do you mean he was helping you out? He was setting up...
the one that had the director friends looking for the girl that wanted to make money.
Okay. Yeah. So he set up...
He would just call and say, hey,
appointment.
Okay, babe, you have, this guy wants to see you at $360.
So this appointment was set up for a shoot, or this was set up as an escort?
Escort.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the guy that set it up for you, you said he set up a fake appointment?
He worked with a lot of girls.
Okay.
So he actually had a separate garage in the backyard. Some houses have this disconnected garage. And it was a full room, bed, kitchen, not kitchen, but like kitchenette.
Right.
Bathroom and stuff. And he had let me know I had a client coming. And he was going to be inside, which was, fairly normal. It's safety measures, like we said. And no client ever showed up.
Okay.
And he came in to start talking to me, and I kind of got a weird feeling that something wasn't right. I actually had just broken my wrist at an incident back home. Just, dogs and stuff happens. I just put my brace back on and stuff. And so when he decided he wanted to be the client, for lack of better terms, I wasn't able to fight him off. And I don't really know if I would say it's better this way, but he wasn't violent. He tried to be very passionate. Went into, whispering into my ear about how my ex-husband didn't take care of me, like the way he takes care of me, and he was entitled to what he was getting. And there's you go into different situations where now you're in the it's my life or his life kind of thought process. So at that time, it was better for me to just deal with it and let him do what he was going to do, because had I had tried to fight him off and be more violent about it myself, I don't know if I would have come out of that situation because of the things he was saying. I don't know if they were true or not. Things like, this isn't my first time, I know what I'm doing, this is how I got my daughter. So it was a lot of, yeah.
This is how I got my daughter?
Yeah. So like, yeah, no, it was that was a lot to deal with. And
did he rape you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you go to the authorities?
There's a catch-22.
Yeah.
Because of what you do, they don't believe you. Yes, I was lucky enough to have my sister-in-law down there at the time. So my roommate randomly called me and said that she just felt like something was wrong. And it was right as I was leaving. And I'll never forget, he walked me right through his house, waved goodnight to his daughter. Yeah, I knew her, like, took her to school and everything, knew her, didn't make a scene. And he watched me drive away, waving and giving me a thumbs up and smiling and all that. And actually, nobody else knows that detail, so that's new for me to come out with. Mika's husband or ex-husband, I believe now, was also in the industry. He was an actor, and he had told me that he knew something was weird, so he'd been waiting for me to come home because he just had a weird vibe about when I left, because it was a really late night call, which wasn't necessarily abnormal, but it was kind of weird.
Different, yeah.
Yeah. So when I got back to the house, obviously all you want to do is you want to take a bath, you want to take a shower, you want to just scrub yourself clean, and they wouldn't let me. And that was really hard for me in the heat of the moment to understand. But because I hadn't decided if I was going to the authority or not, she's like, you can't wash away evidence.
Right.
Luckily, she had been, when she was in college, she was one of the SART trained and all that. So she knew all that stuff. They called my sister-in-law, who came over and stayed with me for a while. I didn't tell my ex-husband for 3 days. I stayed in LA for a while, just kind of locked up in the house. When I came back up to NorCal where he was staying, I told him what had happened, and he forced me to go to the hospital. But I was 3 hours past the mark where they can do any testing. They took pictures of the bruising on my back and everything, and I had gone to the authority because he was wonderful enough to give a producer friend of mine $1,000 in an envelope and a letter saying, I'm sorry, don't report me. Turned that into the authorities, and they still said, wow, because of what you do, nobody's going to believe you. Here's your money back. Sorry. But we'll use you as a witness if it ever happens again.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So a lot of emotions you've gone through being involved in this industry.
Yeah.
Where are you at now?
Now, I'm fine. Because of that incident, I actually moved completely out of LA. Mika introduced me to Dennis, who owns a couple of the brothels in Nevada, and he helped me get on my feet that way, so I still had money and coping with stuff. I was very fortunate to have her with me every step of the way. But once I decided to leave the industry, I had to convince my ex-husband that we could make it without the industry. So I worked 3 jobs for a while. Stayed married, obviously, for a couple of years. After I came to terms with all that, and I met my significant other now, I realized that people will love you regardless of your past. And once you accept that fact, there's nothing that can stand in your way. I have a phenomenal relationship with 90% of my family. Not that I have a bad relationship with the other 10, but it still takes time to build bridges, and you still go through ups and downs.
Sure.
But it's not one of those, oh God, don't have her over, we don't know what she's going to be like, because I wasn't myself. I mean, you can look back at pictures from 7 years ago, and there's nothing in my eyes, if you ask my mom. But if you see me now, she's like, there's life.
Right.
I feel like that I can do anything because of what I've been through, and where I see myself going down the road, there's not anything that can stop me. And part of why I went through everything was so I can help others, and I've been able to help others. I have family in Reno that does the sex trafficking awareness, and I have a lot of what helped me through it was my cousin suggested I write it. So I actually have a book that I had started writing. I don't know if I'll ever finish it because I just hit a point where I'm like, you know what, I don't want to think about all the negative and try and write it out anymore.
Right.
But that was about 32 chapters in.
Wow.
So there's not really anything that holds me back. You still hit the points of when I have kids, are their high school friends going to find out? What are my, will I had that thought then, but my ex-husband was in it too. I had somebody with me.
Right.
Now, I don't have that person that was involved the same.
Right.
And my boyfriend knows everything and doesn't judge. Most of my friends don't necessarily know because it just doesn't come up anymore. But
Sure.
You wouldn't guess. If you met me, you wouldn't know. But I'm good. I do what I can to help girls, be more informed about stuff before they make their decisions so that they can prevent all of the stuff I went
I think that's the
through.
greatest gift that you can give, is sharing your story with others so that we can learn through and with each other. I believe, I know it's incredibly important.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you want to add, a kind of final thought, if you will, behind the stigma or who you are today or any of that?
Don't judge a book by its cover. Just because somebody is doing something you don't approve of, you don't know the reasons why they're doing what they're doing. Is it they're doing what they need to survive, or to provide for a family that you don't know they have? Basically, my motto for my life and what I tell people, every saint has a past and every sinner has a future. So if you can't get that through your head, then be prepared to be judged on your own. Because until you've walked in someone else's shoes, you don't know why they walk them or what they're doing to get out of it.
Right.
Or can you help somebody?
Right.
Think about helping them versus putting them down. Because when you have someone who wants out and is just waiting for someone to help them because they don't think they can do it on their own.
Absolutely.
You don't want to be that final stone to just keep them weighted down.
And that's an interesting thing that I thought about when you said that, your friend had mailed your dad, the cover of one of these movies. Is my thought, I don't care what we're talking about, whether we're talking about porn or, you jack $20 out of your mama's purse. You need to go to that person if you're so concerned that they could put themselves in a position of, that they're not going to be safe or whatever your issue is with it. If you are a true friend, you're going to first approach that person.
Yeah.
And with love and acceptance, not judgment, and certainly not malice.
No, definitely not malice.
So,
I can say from the people that did approach me, the heat of the moment, at that time, I'm completely blind. Didn't see it, was like, whatever, you're wrong. Now that I've stepped back, those are the people I can go to. And I did a lot of building my bridges back, and I'm sorry, you were right. But now I know you truly did have my best interest in mind because you're still here.
Right.
It's been, my best friend, I met her when we were in 8th grade, 9th grade. We stopped talking for a lot of that time. And the second I called her and said, I don't know what to do, I want out, help me, she was at my house in a second. And I talked to her almost every day.
That's amazing. And that's beautiful. I love that. Manda, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been really amazing to have you. You've been really open and honest, and the world needs more of that. So thank you so much for coming and sharing your story. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Anytime.
Let's explore.